Hey everybody, it's me, Ned. Just went running in the rain. And now, priorities, the most important thing I can think of to do is tell you about this Quinta Infantado white port. Yes, white port. I didn't really know that this existed until I tasted it at a tasting with the winemaker, João Rosiera, and I was blown away. There's so much information here. I'll put the bottle on this spare tire sitting there. I don't even know where to start. I'll try to do this quickly. So, Quinta Infantado is the first port house in Portugal to bottle port just on their own. Prior to the law changing in 1986, when Portugal joined the EU, all port had to be, like the grapes are grown up in the Douro Valley, and then the wine had to be shipped downriver to, I've forgotten the name of the town, but a port city down on the coast where it was bottled, and only the big like houses that were buying wine from all the different farmers and then blending it and stuff and making the wine, they were the only ones that could afford to do that. So up until 1986, legally, that was how port had to be made, which made it impossible for small family producers to export port outside of the country. The Rosiera, so Infantado was founded in 1816. The Rosiera family bought it in the late 1800s, and they stopped buying wine and stopped selling their grapes off or their wine off to the big houses in the 70s. And so then for basically like a decade, they could only sell their wine within Portugal because they didn't have a separate facility to bottle the wine down on the coast. They legally weren't allowed to export it, which is just insane. And so then finally the laws changed and they were allowed to. So they're an amazing port house. They're in the best part of Portto, up in the Douro Valley, some of the best vineyards. The vineyards in the Douro Valley in Port are all classified A through F classes. Normally the A-class vineyards are only used for like vintage port, and then it sort of goes on down from there. Like B-class vineyards are used for Tawny Reserva and stuff like that. The Rosiera family, Infantado, they only own A-class vineyards. And I'm basically stealing this from the David Bowler website here, but they compare that to like being a Burgundy producer and only owning Grand Cru vineyards in Burgundy. So the like Infantado non-vintage Ruby port is made essentially from like Grand Cru vineyards. So like this white port, this is under $20. This is like high teens. It only comes from some of the best vineyards in Portto, up in the Douro Valley. These are old vines. The white port comes from 3.5 hectares, sort of in 3 different locations on old super schistous soil, hillsides. The grapes, I'm gonna read these notes here. Gouveia, Rabigato, Vicinho, and Moscatel Gallego are the 4 grape varieties in here. White port is exceedingly rare. It's made really in sort of the same way as red port, except I kind of think, this doesn't say a vintage on it, but I think this might basically all just be from one vintage. I think this might be vintage port because in my reading all about the winemaking of it, it's harvested. The grapes are macerated in sort of a combination of by foot and then a slightly more modern, more even mechanical method in a lagar. It's a traditional vessel, a long, narrow sort of trough that the grapes are pressed in. Pressed off, ferments for 4 to 5 days, natural yeast. They ferment it to, this has 30 milligrams of sugar left per bottle. So they ferment it about to that point and then add 70% or 77% grape wine brandy to it to like stop the fermentation and finish it. Because their grapes are higher quality, because they have really old vines, because they have A-class vineyards, they're fermenting with wild yeast, blah, 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 blah. They have higher sugar concentrations, higher, like the grapes naturally have more sugar. So they can ferment it to a higher alcohol level, still have the right amount of sugar, and so they don't have to add as much brandy to the wine to get it to the alcoholic concentration that they want it to be at. This is aged for usually about 3 years, 3 to 4 years, some in gigantic old oak casks, or cask, I think, because they don't make much of this, some in smaller old oak barrels, and then it's aged in the bottle as well. This says that it's bottle 6,435. I don't know what the production was, but A, they're a small winery, B, no one knows that white port exists. So I don't think that they made much. Here, I'm going to just hold this back over here again in front of the camera so you can see, because, okay, why am I excited about this? Why am I talking about it? It blows my mind. I've never had anything like this before. I read somewhere online, I read a thing comparing it to Pinot de Charente from the southern France, from, I forget where Pinot de Charente comes from, Gascony? I should know that. Not that I have any Pinot de Charente I work with. Anyway, that's another sort of kind of similar thing from southern France. This smells like candied orange peel. Look at this color. Look at that. Holy crap. It smells like candied orange peel. It smells kind of nutty too, but not in like an oxidative sherry kind of way. I read things online comparing this to Madeira. It's not really like any Madeira that I've ever had. It's lighter, it's brighter, it's fresher. It's not as nutty, it's not as oxidative, it's not as savory. I was just welding over here too, so it smells like welding. The wine, I'm pretty sure the wine doesn't smell like welding. I think it's just the old Toyota. Notes of old Toyota. Okay, candied orange peel, a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of cloves. It smells like a holiday drink, basically. It smells kind of like Christmas. But it is so gorgeous. The sweetness doesn't really hit me. Like, I know that it's sweet. I know that there's sugar in this. But if somebody asked me, like, hey, is that sweet? I'd be like, no, not really. Like, it doesn't really taste sweet. It tastes like ripe fruit. It tastes like candied orange. It tastes like cooked, reduced orange and like peach and stuff like that, where it's the fruit flavor that you taste. It's not the sugar that hits you. That's how this is. It's all of the flavor that's here. There's so much going on. It's so fun and rich. It's spicy too. Like the mid palate and the finish. There's a spiciness. You don't really taste the alcohol, which is impressive and kind of dangerous because yes, it's 19.5%. Oh, now I feel it in the back of my throat. There's the alcohol. It's warm. It's nice. But yeah, it's also kind of nutty. Almond, raw almond, a little bit of walnut, you know, candied walnut, but it's citrusy. It is like hot, like Southern European, Mediterranean, even. I know it's not Mediterranean, but it's like that climate, orange, like cooked orange and lemon, candied orange and lemon peel. That's what this wine has got. But there's nothing really that that this is analogous to. It is so unique and mind-blowing. It's just its own thing. I'm so impressed and excited and can't believe that I haven't been drinking white port up until now. Yes, it's super rare, but holy crap, it is so good. You serve it chilled. People drink it as like an aperitif. You drink it like before a meal or like with light snacks and stuff like that, with like nuts and little cakes and salty cheese and stuff like that. This is ridiculous. So go find it. I only brought 4 cases into Maine. I'll try to get more. I'm sorry. I didn't get more of this because, God damn it, this is so good. Ah.